talking 2 years since you all organized the installation and execution of the Black Lives Matter mural on Indiana Avenue.
The significance of installing Black art by Black artists, funded by Black people, facilitated by Black folks in a historically Black neighborhood during Black August is more significant than I think people knew. And the impact of that kind of really grew from there.
Being on Indiana Avenue that day was very alluring, very empowering. The energy and the love and the unity was breathtaking.
It was exciting, obviously. This is a large project. This is a big thing to be a part of. It's history in the making.
The landscape looked really different, but it was cool that, the Walker Building was still there. There were all these different people, not just Black people, but white people, young, old people. So there was a really positive vibe that day.
To be on Indiana Avenue that day, there was a lot of synergy, a lot of emotion, a lot of grieving, a lot of happiness and joy. It was a big celebration.
It kind of reclaimed what joy could be in a time of uncertainty.
We just felt like we need to show up for this moment because art has always told the story, and sometimes curators and people who are drawn to creativity, are picking up on that and saying, we're just supposed to act now.
Right? We're not talking about culpability. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about the history of lynching in this country and how the state has amassed resources from chattel slavery and our ancestors to further surveil, harass, arrest, and kill us. What can you offer? And when this mural came up, it was like joy.
Not only the joy, but like this authentic and sacred space where we felt like we made this and this is for us and we can be okay right here.
But it was such a beautiful moment. It was such a happy tears moment, and it was such a sad moment too, because we knew why we were gathering, right?
Yeah, I think you said it, poetically, just in reference to finding joy in the impossible, right? And just kind of how that moment added just a shift in Black culture, our Indianapolis community, our art community here, and now you fast forward 2 years, and the same individuals you all found artists to execute this mural. I mean, the same 18 individuals have formed a collective. They have become very successful, artists within this community, not Black artists, very successful artists in this community.
Initially, I felt a little, cautious, because I didn't know if there would be people out there that were against what we were doing. But as soon as I got the paint out, got the brushes in my hands, saw my peers, saw my friends, family out there, the energy was just super electric.
Really, there wasn't any adversity. You had a couple people, but it just got overshadowed by all the love and support of everyone there.
For me to see that many Black artists working in the city at the same time was amazing. Everyone was supportive and collectively together that day.
It was very inspiring to be on Indiana Avenue that day with so many great artists, local people coming out just to show support. They had music playing, it was great vibes.
I felt hope, I felt a lot of anticipation. So many people out there with the same purpose, to get something beautiful done.
I cried, I laughed, I danced, it rained. I mean, everything you can think of happened. But it was a great experience.
Kind of like I'm walking on sacred grounds, and then just seeing how everybody else were coming into the awareness of that, of Indiana Avenue. It was just mind-blowing.
It was just a great, strong, vibrant energy. It felt like everybody was working together in unison to create one piece of work.
Being on Indiana Avenue that day was the most important thing that I've done in a long time. Not purely because of what we created, but because of the atmosphere that was created. the sense of community, the wholehearted genuineness of the people that were involved.
That is something I'll always cherish in my heart. You know, getting out there with the other artists, a few artists that I had worked with in the past that I hadn't seen in a long time. Like I said, a little bit of rain and the fellowship with everybody, it was a blessing.
For the mural, I was tasked at creating the hashtag. I looked at it kind of like I look at education. I created an all-black hashtag basically to begin with, and then community members started to pitch in and help paint different things and sketch out different things. The images that were created were like a reflection of the community and the people that were involved. So even it being at the front, it was the community first before it's anything else. Like there had to be everyone chipping in to get to where we're gonna go.
So I did the letter B, and my inspiration was a combination of the kente fabric made in Ghana and also the message I was trying to convey. So the green triangles represent privileged lives, the red triangles represent black lives. The blue lines that are in between the set of triangles represent police brutality, racial injustice, all the different issues that we combat in America and really across the world. And the red handprint on the handle of the Afro pick represents the lives that we've lost.
The inspiration for my letter mostly comes from, having a voice, and I wanted to speak out about the racial injustice and inequality that was happening throughout our country. I saw so many people who were protesting with purpose, and they were really advocating for equality. What would that look like where everyone is coming together? And I said, oh, that would be a new nation. And I created this silhouette that was kneeling, it was taking a knee, and they were holding a flag, and the flag was all black, and it was showing this, the states all united for one purpose. And I also added Good Trouble on there because I wanted to pay tribute to the wonderful John Lewis.
I did the letter A in black. The overall concept was actually based off of Maya Angelou's And Still I Rise, her poem. That's just such a strong poem to Black women and just to women in general. I feel like it speaks to all of us on a very deep level. The A, it has African lilies that are wrapped around it and kind of coming out of it. And then I wrote And Still I Rise in it multiple times just to, repetition, reminder to anybody who reads it, just to continue on, to continue to fight. I wanted it to be like the flowers are coming out of the concrete. The Black community, we're fighting to, break through something that we weren't meant to break through. We're fighting to grow and to bloom, in a place where we weren't meant to.
I did the letter C. What inspired me for the letter C is Dr. Sebi, even though his name starts with an S. Dr. Sebi is a health practitioner who passed away a couple years ago. He inspires me to live a healthy lifestyle and also spread that knowledge of healthy lifestyle to others, like things that we eat and things like that.
Michael Taylor was my inspiration for my letter. I knew that I wanted to figure out a way creatively to incorporate his legacy, to incorporate his family name and tradition. And like I said, he was a Southside kid like myself, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a few times and just being able to admire him in the neighborhood, and then his life was tragically taken at 15 years old. So to be able to incorporate his name in the mural in general was a blessing, but to be able to do it in my letter that I actually owned and was able to articulate was a blessing. The letter I did in the mural was the L in lives. And at the time, a lot of people were like really upset, and people were focusing more on what we could do to solve some of these problems. And voting was something that I kept hearing about. The stars represent Black people, Black individuals. The green, black, and red represents the Black community. And the word vote obviously means, I want people to vote. And the ballot is the ballot box, and the ballot is actually blue for voting Democratic. So that letter is actually just a sentence for Black people, Black individuals, and the Black community to get out and vote Democratic and vote that way so that we can actually get some of these changes, in effect.
I did the letter I in the mural, and the inspiration for the I is it's on Indiana Avenue, which is historic. Not only just for Black people, but for immigrants in general. Indiana Avenue was always a busy and happening place. It's in Indianapolis, Indiana. Given our racial history and past, for me, part of our history was the Michael Taylor story. Devin Fosco Kimbrough was my artist assistant that day. I told him where I was gonna go with Michael. He put Breonna, Dejan Reed, and other mural down at the end. Then a little girl came about flipping through my sketchbook, and a little girl resonated for me because it's the Afro Puffs with the Black Power Fist. But Black women have always been influential in my life. My mother, my sisters, grandmothers, and aunts. But just Black women in general to me have bared a lot in society, pain, and have also helped a lot of us.
I painted the V in Lives, and I saw that the V was directly in the middle of the mural, which means that there were so many letters on the left and right of it that kind of sandwiched it. And so I used that opportunity to have a place where our fallen community members could rest. I put their names in the V inside of the mural, and it was kind of thinking, they were encompassed by all of this beauty on either side, and the V is very plain. I just have their names in color blocks, and it's a place where you can just go and read about who these people are and that fell at the hands of IMPD. And I thought it was so important because at the time we were talking about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and those are extremely important, but we live here. This is our community, those that may not have been spoken of before. And so it was just great all around.
I did the E in Lives, part of my spiritual background. Letters mean something. So the letter E stands for equality. I have the eagle wings. The eagle is symbol of America. But at the bottom of it, I have an image of a Black man. And lately, that's all we've been seeing is Black men being killed unjustly by police and everything else. So it was it was only right just to have that E represent equality. There's still no equality, and we're in a country of so-called freedom.
I did the letter S in the mural. Really stemmed from the fact that a lot of times women, but especially women, Black women, women of color, really can't express themselves in the way that would be natural and normal without some type of misconception or backlash or a lot of different things that come along with showing emotions. I just wanted to represent the emotions that some people, some women might be feeling at that time, or as the message that Black Lives Matter is being delivered. So that was why I incorporated those faces into my letter on the mural.
My inspiration for my letter is Afro Samurai. So he is a Black samurai that went through tons of trials and tribulations. And what I really wanted to do is kind of correlate that to things that we go through every day, all the adversity that we are facing now. And I really wanted to correlate those together. And then I also did a saying on there, and it said, "Can you dig it?" I really got that from this one song called Grazing in the Grass. I really feel like that vibe and the message in that song, and during that time, I just feel like everything kind of just went full circle. And so my whole thing with it is, Black Lives Matter then and now. Can you dig it? And so that's what I really wanted to, kind of embody in my piece.
My letter was the A in Matter, And I was inspired by Faith Ringgold's protest art in the 70s. The Flag is Bleeding painting basically had the American flag in the background, and a little bit was bleeding, and there's people standing there, I mean, American citizens, a different variety of them. And I just think it really calls to how, yes, we are like Americans and like we're so proud of our flag, but like beneath it there's so much bad stuff going on, and still institutional racism, and like people are hurting, which is what I think the blood was representing. And people are literally being shot and bleeding. And so I wanted to incorporate that in my A. So the A is basically like lines of the flag that are bleeding. And on the bottom half of the letters, it says no peace, no justice, KNOW. I just really wanted to make a statement, and I wanted to disrupt our beautiful image of the flag. And I think that we have a weird loyalty to a flag that is just a flag, and if it represents one thing, then I think that artists can change it to represent like something that's horrible that's going on.
The letter I did was the letter T. It's like so many things I wanted to do, and then when I got out there, I realized, one, how big this letter was, and then like two, I was like, man, what do I want to say in a T? So it's like I threw a bunch of designs into play. It was really a lot going on, and then I just got out there and I freestyled it.
The inspiration for my letter was Breonna Taylor. I feel that what happened to Breonna Taylor, there's no justification at all. And it's such disappointment that the officers who were responsible for this were not disciplined. And the way that I look at it is this: what if Breonna Taylor were your cousin? What if Breonna Taylor was your aunt? What if Breonna Taylor was your daughter? What if Breonna Taylor was your mother? My daughter's name is Taylor. So, you know, I made a connection, feeling like, what if this was somebody very close to me and this happened to them? We have to speak up, because if we don't speak up, things are going to continue to occur like this. They've been happening for far too long, and it's time for things to stop. And we need to start to move forward together as a country in the right direction.
The inspiration for my letter was about community and self-care. I look at a lot of natural materials, and I think about how gardening and plants can influence us, what we can learn from nature, and how we can think about that in terms of our relationships to each other.
I got letter R, which was amazing because all of our last names are Robinson. And I wanted a letter that represented me and my children. So my whole theme is Black dreams matter, Black futures matter. So I did a portrait of both of my daughters with what they want to be when they grow up. They deserve to live a prosperous life. They deserve to live in whatever dreams, whatever they want to be. Just because of the color of your skin, it should not ever be a reason why you can't get something, because there's not equity. And I have the sun shining down with names of all of the people who've been killed through police brutality. But the background is the sky, showing that we're looking up in hope at the sun, at God, knowing that, yeah, they're looking down on us, but we're looking up in hope. It's hopeful, like that one day, my children, their dreams will matter to everybody, not just to me.
I did the fist, and when I did it, I really kind of went off the top of my head. But the first thing I thought about for me was Africa. We're from there. That's, you know, the homeland for us. And, you know, the first thing that came to my mind, you know, when I think of Black lives and the fist rather, definitely brought me back to my roots. So I just wanted to do a theme that related to Africa, and I think when everybody see it, that they definitely will feel or see that.
I think the mural is important because it gives people a sense of productive activism. So it's not just people talking about something, there's something that is being done there's something that people can see, where people are working together and people are actually doing something about the problem. And even though it's just a mural, it's not like it's changing everything. It's something that people can look at, they can point to, they can see a before and after. And it's something that while it's been done, it's like a jump off point. It's a starting point for people to continue that activism.
I think it can spotlight Indiana as a city with what we're doing to create more community, to create more togetherness. I hope that it creates conversation that'll lead to policy change, whether it's within an institution, within an organization, and create change within our relationships to each other.
Bringing Black lives and white lives and Asian lives and any lives together, all together, and just, you know, hopefully that we can see that we're all just one people. We really are. No man's better than the next. And we just want to, you know, hopefully bring everybody together.
You know, I really know that us painting on the street, you know, that's not going to change anything. And that's why I feel like it's important. It just sheds light on all the hate that's been hiding in the shadows, and, you know, and people can't be oblivious to that anymore.
It is an impactful message to society. And we also found, like, after the mural was damaged, and collectively, I was frustrated, wanted to go back in and keep fixing it, but like the collective, as we voted on it, was like, no, let's leave it there. So it still shows you how important it is. If it was there and people were mad enough to want to throw paint all on it, you know what I'm saying, or try to deface it, I think it really added to the context of the message. I think it's just a message of hope and inspiration for past, present, and future.
We have to keep delivering that message in whatever way that we can. Putting it out on the street, saying it outside, out of our mouths, wearing it on a shirt, whatever. Black lives matter, and until it seems like everyone has the message, that's why I feel like it's important. I specifically feel like it's important on Indiana Avenue, being that it was a thriving and flourishing arts epicenter in Indianapolis.
Mentioned so poetically as far as finding joy in the impossible, and just kind of how, you know, that's like the story of the 18 artists that you all found in Indianapolis to help execute this mural. I mean, these local artists, and, you know, finding joy in the impossible and just like doing the impossible. I mean, these 18 group of, you know, fantastic artists have created a collective. They've had, you know, many shows, you know, and personal accomplishments throughout the past 2 years, and now we're here in Newfields, you know, one of the top fine art institutions in the country, and this 18 art collective that started at the Black Lives Matter mural, executing that mural for that moment, is not having their own moment.
Right? It's about creating community among ourselves, advocating for ourselves, you know, advocating for our liberation. And so to see those 18 artists that came to the table and go beyond and say, no, we're gonna build something here that's gonna continue. It's not just gonna be about us, it's gonna be about the next generation of artists, so they know they can do things, and we're gonna step into this and we're gonna advocate for ourselves and advocate for the community. It's so powerful, you know, that our vision of just supporting the Black Lives Matter project, you know, in that moment, turn into this living, breathing thing for not just these artists, but for future artists, and has reached institutions like the IMA, or Newfields now, I should say. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it's also very sobering to just remember why we got here.
Their presence now at Newfields in We the Culture, which is the second iteration, you know, of more obstacles and challenges that we had to go through, is why we did the mural. You know, that is what we were doing this for, is to have new, bold conversations and to shape new narratives and to propose new normals and to say, this is equity in action. We're about to just start doing stuff. This is not about, you know, the statements and the plans that were happening at the time. This is about what are we doing on the streets right now? And what can we break? And I think We the Culture is an example of something that was broken and can be put back together.
And to see in real time how Black people touching the earth can create something that builds a legacy was something that was needed as we came out of the uprisings and the police fatal shootings and the uncertainty of what's next.
This is what diversity, inclusion, equity is, right? You look different, you talk different, that doesn't mean you don't have value, that you don't have intelligence, you don't have creativity, you don't have innovation. And we make space for people to be who they are. And raise all of that up in the space, and now you see it at Newfields, right? It is intelligence, it is creativity, it is high art, even if it doesn't seem like the traditional definition of high art. And I love that. We're making it normal. We all grew up thinking this is not a place that you do art, especially as a Black artist, right? We grow up, we move on, that's what our goal is. And when I see the Black Lives Matter mural, that moment, that time, and that birthed the collective, and everybody that sees the collective and sees themselves in the collective, is no, it's okay to be Black and artist, and I have value. And I can do this here, I can do this anywhere. And that is what I hope, that's my limited vision for the future, but that's what I hope is coming out of this, right? We're still in the movement for liberation, whatever that looks like. We're not free, we're seeing a lot of backlash right now, which is to be expected if you're an observer of history. However, I do see some hope in the fact that we're in Newfields right now. You know, we're doing this right now. We have institutions like Newfields who now want to be a partner in that journey and exposing people, exposing the public to all aspects of Indianapolis. And for me, working at an economic development corporation is a beautiful thing, you know, that we are normal. And I'll just end right there.
Awesome. Just from our vantage point, my vantage point, perspective, as in the collective community, just, you know, thank you all for just organizing the Black Lives Matter mural, because if that didn't happen at that moment, then this moment wouldn't have happened. And that took a lot of courage to do that, and it takes a lot of courage to do this. And just looking forward to the courage and the curiosity as we move forward.